Alright, YouTube, there has been a 4.8 magnitude quake about 85 miles south of Yellowstone near the rather unfortunately named Hoback, Wyoming. Hoback. No. I want to go visit there sometime. I wonder what they do for entertainment. Out there in the boonies, it's probably like, 200 people in this village or whatever. I'm not even sure. This has people slightly nervous. Mary Greeley has a video. There are other videos about it. Perhaps rightfully so. Of course, the main worry with a supervolcano is we don't actually know specifically how the eruption occurs and what leads up to it. We think, of course, science thinks there would be, several weeks or months of warning. Things would start heating up, things would get kind of fucked, and you'd know, yeah, it's probably time to clear out. But we're not sure. It could give no warning at all and suddenly spontaneously explode up into the sky, leaving behind, a 5-mile wide crater filled completely with surging magma that goes shooting up a mile into the sky. We're not exactly sure. It's a problem within science. Seismic readings and all of this technology that we use is fairly new, really from the past 100 years. In fact, it isn't until the 1950s and 60s that much of the more modern equipment that we use really came into use at all. We don't fully understand these things. One thing, though, I would say is if there's a quake, there's movement, because that's literally what a quake is. It's the shaking of these faults. It's the vibration coming from that movement, slippage or magma intrusion or whatever it may be. In circumstances where you have an active fault, you actually want it to keep setting off small and moderate earthquakes. Because if it suddenly goes silent, it generally means that it's building up pressure, it's building up force, and it's going to let off a big one. There are several locked faults on the west coast, including the Cascadia fault. And when that goes off, it's going to wipe 1 million people off the face of the earth and probably send a tsunami to Japan as well. Japan will get hit, Indonesia will get hit, all of these northern coast of Australia might get a tsunami. It's going to be pretty damn bad. In the case where you have an area where generally seismic activity is low, which is, this area of far inland Wyoming, somebody was talking about maybe it was a fracking quake. It's possible. I don't think that fracking near Yellowstone's a great idea. I happen to be generally in support of fracking. I think we should look into how to ameliorate any environmental effects it might have. I do think that it causes earthquakes. My hope is that those earthquakes are temporary. Literally, you fracked apart a region, it settles down, and over a fairly short period of time, if you were to stop fracking, the seismicity would go away. I don't have any proof that that's the case. It could be that we're cracking apart a new fault right down the middle of our country, in which case all hell could break loose at any given time. But I haven't seen any indication that that's going to be the fact. I happen to be in favor of fracking for purely pragmatic reasons until green energy is capable of supplying us in lieu of oil and coal. But that being said, fracking around a supervolcanic caldera, even if you're 100 miles from it, that's still not that great a distance. You're talking about fault zones that sometimes they stretch for thousands of miles, so what would it matter? Having a quake of a fairly high magnitude, 4.8 is nothing to shake a stick at, that close to a supervolcano, brings up the question, and if it had happened a little closer, had been a little bit larger, could it have potentially caused an eruption? Could random chance alone, some ancient billion-year-old shelf of rock that hasn't fully settled down to a lower layer, suddenly slipping, cause a supervolcanic eruption? That's probably the better question than, is this related to Yellowstone? No, at that distance, probably not. But if it suddenly causes other motion to occur nearer to the supervolcanic caldera, could it spontaneously explode up into the sky? That's something that perhaps should be asked, because again, if you don't know specifically how these eruptions take place, what triggers them, and so forth, yeah, it could potentially trigger one, because we're not sure. Maybe a meteor has to hit that location before it goes off. Maybe it has to crack the surface and turn into an actual pool of lava sitting there for a while before it explodes. Maybe it has to hit an underground reservoir of water and cause a steam explosion, allowing the magma through. Maybe it has to penetrate just near to the surface, and then or maybe there has to be a dome collapse over it that compresses the liquefied rock and then it surges back up and that's how it explodes. We're not sure. We've never witnessed a supervolcanic eruption. That's the problem. And if a supervolcanic eruption does occur, chances are science thereafter, because of the mass chaos that'll happen in this world, will no longer be able to actually make heads or tails of how it actually happened. And anyone close enough to witness it, they'd be vaporized, within seconds. A person 100 miles away would die. A person 200 or 300 miles away would probably get hit by the explosion itself. It'd be absolutely catastrophic. So we should probably know. But then again, it's not like we can do anything to prevent it. Is it really even worth bothering to study? I mean, I guess if it goes off, if their theories are correct, it causes basically a fallout winter or something akin to it. At the very least, it wipes out the entire heartland with ashfall, destroys the crops, and we end up having to definitely need a backyard garden after that. Up here, we get, a negligible couple millimeters of ashfall, just plow it into the soil. But closer to the heartland, where all the grain comes from, yeah, your corn crop's going to suffer. Vermont farming will really take off if that happens. See, I could become wealthy. There's enough land here. Make a little farm. That food will be worth a lot more. Sell it. I'll even undercut the others. There'll be some Vermont tomatoes and Vermont corn, some Swiss chard, maybe some rhubarb pies and stuff, and people just be lined up down the street waiting to taste my rhubarb pies. See, I can't lose. Either it doesn't go off and things are fine, or it goes off and I make a killing selling pies. Yeah. But I think the highlight of the story is still the name of the closest town, Hoback. Yeah. Maybe they meant Hogback, but they accidentally forgot the G. Maybe when they signed the town registry, they were missing the G that day. So then fuck it, we'll just make it Hoback. Ha ha ha. And they were laughing for hours drunkenly, because that's what people there do. That's about all. Peace out.